Hi, welcome back to WizNugs. Today we wanted to talk about the idea of a side hustle, side gig, or passive income, as sometimes it's referred to. The idea behind it is finding a way to supplement your income so you're maybe just a little bit more comfortable in life. We wanted to talk about how you can decide what you might want to do, the positive things that can come from it, and in some cases, how it can actually be maybe a little bit detrimental to your current situation. So I want to start off talking about us initially. Now, when we started this, it wasn't actually to be a side hustle. It was more of a project or a creative thing.
A hobby.
Something to do that scratched an itch, right? And that's to be able to have something that we found that was creative and had meaning and was purposeful and that we could hopefully share with other people and help them out. But in the back of the mind, there's that little tiny what if this actually does take off, right? What if it actually starts generating revenue or interest?
If all of a sudden we were approached by a network to say, we would like to be part of the WizNugs brand, and we're going to be on QVC. No, not QVC.
Well, I mean, if we're selling like Marvel products or something, maybe. Not a paid advertisement.
I've heard of a few people who have gotten into talk show stuff from basically starting off with something like this and getting to something that's a little bigger, a little more.
We talk about before Tom Woods. Tom Woods started off, he was a historian, and he did the one episode on, what was the show again?
Peter Schiff.
Yep, he did the one stand-in show or the one show where he came in and kind of did the hosting gig, and he's like, I like this. And he decided he wanted to do it, and it took off. And so you don't know what's going to happen and where it's going to go when you open up those doors. And who knows if he thought about he was going to make that his living. And so in our case, we thought about well, if it does happen, right? If this does happen, then what does that mean for us?
Is that kind of along the same lines of what would I do if I won the lottery?
Sure.
How would I set up my millions?
Even though as impossible it is, I would say not impossible, improbable that it is, that a YouTuber just coming out right out the gate, all of a sudden, bam, they're viral, they're making all kinds of money, they can quit their day jobs, and now they have this different life that they never imagined.
Sure.
I think in my case, it was, if this takes off well enough, it would be a decent supplemental income. And
who knows, man?
To me, I don't feel like this takes effort, right? I feel like this is something I can easily slide into my life. Right? Easily slide into my life and becomes part of the things that I do, and I don't feel like I'm putting myself out. So what I would say on that premise is when you are looking to do, say you decided that you want to supplement your income somehow, look for things that aren't necessarily going to be overwhelming or take more time or feel like you're now putting another burden on your shoulder. Tom Woods talks about he has a book out there, an ebook that you can go look up, and it's 10 things that you can do for side hustle, for side income. And it's for free. You can go out there, you can read it, and it gives some very good information about.
We'll link to it in the description.
Yep, and you can go out there and do these things that he does, in most cases, to bring in this passive income. And I, to be honest, have not looked over it yet because I have my own little side things that I do besides this. I think there's a lot of good suggestions that he makes, and it's obvious if it's something that he does, it can work if you put the right attention to it.
When I hear side hustle, I turn off. My brain turns off. This, to me, sounds like the when your friend has you over for a Pampered Chef party, and you just, here, you can be a business owner, and you can just sign up for this program, and you just pay this much money for the opportunity to sell these products. I go, no, I am not a salesperson. I have no interest at all. I know that about myself. I'm not an extrovert. I don't want to jump out there and be talking to everybody that I know going, have you tried these pans? If I have a conversation about how awesome a particular thing is, I want it to be natural and organic and not have any kind of sales pitch around it. And then if they decide that they like it based on we've talked about a thing, then cool. So for me, it's kind of the same thing as hey, you can get a free vacation. You just have to come to our 4-hour seminar about timeshares where we're going to do the hard sell about, well, maybe you can't afford this level, but what if you get this level of... No, I don't. I'm not about the hustle. I want to clock out of work and I want to relax.
Right. So what I would say is, in this case, on that example, is if you're going to do something that's a side hustle or a side business or passive income, make sure it's something that's, I would say, feasible. And what I mean by that is it's not putting you in a situation where you feel like this is not who I am. And this is not, I don't feel comfortable with this.
Whatever it is, it's got to fit into your, not just self-image, but also your schedule.
Yeah, and it's not going to take time away from the things that you're currently doing for yourself or for your own personal health, well-being. It's not going to take time away from family or children or loved ones if you've already have spent time doing that. It's being able to make it work and make it mesh in your current lifestyle. There might be some changes, but if you're having a lot of free time perusing the internet,
if you routinely spend time just scrolling TikTok, nothing against TikTok, and sure, it can be absolutely a way of learning new things depending on what you follow and what you actually watch.
The idea for me is like, yeah, watch what you need to watch to use it as a tool, right? If you're looking to make a side business and you know that there might be some TikTok videos out there or YouTube videos or something else that's going to help you learn a little bit more about what you're trying to do, yeah, spend that little bit of time and use it as an educational tool to get you to where you have a better understanding about the thing that you're going to make the endeavor into. But then after that, stop it. Because I'm just as guilty as the rest of the people. As you get started on it, and then next thing you know, 2 hours have passed, 3 hours have passed.
I heard about a study that showed that watching 30 minutes of television can actually have a calming effect. After 30 minutes, no matter how much, if you watch 2 hours, 4 hours, you never get more benefit than the 30 minutes.
Right? And that could be on anything.
And so we're just really talking about being mindful about how you use your time. So if you're explicitly setting out to use your time to just decompress and just chill and you want to just scroll, go for it.
Whatever you decide to choose, make sure that you genuinely have an interest in that, if you can. And it's not like a get rich quick kind of scheme, as you mentioned, right? Hey, if you go and sell all these pans, do this certain amount every month, man, you're going to be breaking in the dough. And
we're going to have a sales contest, and if you're the top performer, you get a trip to Hawaii.
Right. So it's managing expectations. If something sounds too good to be true,
probably is.
It probably is. So know that it's going to take time and effort to be able to get this thing off the ground. It just doesn't happen. It's not like recording your friend doing a skateboarding trick and he lands on his groin and then you put it up on YouTube and it goes viral and all of a sudden you're the hit of the town. Like, oh, look at that.
But then you have to make videos of your friend getting hit in the groin over and over and over every week.
Yeah. And if he's smart, he's not going to stay your friend very long.
To build a brand.
That's right. So try to keep it focused, again, on something that you have interest in and something that you enjoy. Or it's easy enough that it's not going to be time consuming and it's just something that you can spend a little bit of time on and then be, okay, I did a thing, I was a little bit productive, I worked on this thing, and now I'm going to let it go. I think a lot of occasions people start off doing things, whether it's a YouTube channel or a side hustle or side business, and they expect it's going to boom right out the gate. And it's discouraging when it doesn't happen.
I mean, for me, I'm torn because I think on the one hand, to have multiple income streams sounds great. And I think that's one of the things about it is that it sounds like it's a really awesome idea. Like, sure, who doesn't want more money? But at the same time, to think realistically about, do you really want to work 2 jobs?
Right.
You have to know going into one of these things that if you're starting something like this, it is basically another job.
And they've talked about before is like you can take something that you're doing as a hobby and do that and try to make money off of it. But we've had this discussion before. At what point
does it stop being enjoyable? If you're doing something as a hobby, there's a webcomic that I saw.
Right.
Maybe I'll post it here if I can find it.
Yeah, you should post it right there.
Of a guy who's just taking up knitting because it's calming, or crochet or whatever. So he's making scarves. And then like the side hustle demon comes and says, you must monetize your hobby.
Right.
And he's like, really? I have to? Yes, you must. The next thing you know, he's sitting at a booth that's like Steve's stupid scarves.
Yeah. Right. And so,
I don't like the idea of feeling culturally like there's this zeitgeist of monetize your hobby. Oh, you're an artist, you like to draw? Sell your drawings. Oh, you like to knit? Sell products. It's like, come on. At what point can you just allow a hobby to be a hobby?
yeah, and that's fine and dandy. But on the other side of the coin, if it's a possibility that you could take something that you do for leisure and free time and just sell a couple, right? It doesn't have to be a truly an income replacement thing. Maybe it's like, look, I've made 200 scarves. What am I going to do with these scarves?
Or I like knitting because I like knitting.
Right.
And at the end of my knitting, just for the sake of it, I end up with these scarves. I
Yep.
do scarves because they're easy enough to do
Yep.
mindlessly while I'm watching TV.
But my family, they all have a scarf for every day of the week. All my friends and all the people I work with have a scarf for every day of the week. I still have scarves. I like it. It's cathartic to me.
I'm going to set up a web store that's going to be just, hey, come on, click on these. Here's what I got.
And I'm going to make them at the same pace that I currently make them. So if I'm out of stock, I'm just have it up and they're currently out of stock. I will let you know when I have more to sell.
Taking that point of view on it, I think it takes a certain level of maturity to be able to say, I'm not going to jump off the cliff and say that I'm going to get now, just taking YouTube for an example, to be monetized on YouTube is a high threshold. You have to get a lot of subscribers or like millions of views of shorts. It's a lot. So the idea of chasing that to me just seems so draining. So we try to put out good content for you. And if you like what we're doing, I hope that you give a like, a comment, a thumbs up, or you subscribe or whatever.
Or share it with a friend.
But you do you. And if you like what we're doing, maybe you'll talk about it. But that'll be, again, organically.
Right.
I don't think we need to like mobilize an army of people to get everybody on the WizNugs parade so that we can be #1 on YouTube.
Yeah, and so we do what we can, right? We talk to our friends, we talk to our family, workmates, and say, hey, myself and Casey, we do a podcast and we talk about these things. The purpose behind it is to try to help people as much as we can. For me, in particular, it's young males that are lacking that fatherly type of mentorship in their life. Not that I'm trying to be a father, but helpful information that was helpful to me when I discovered it.
For me, WizNugs is about sharing the wisdom that might not be so common. Some stuff that we've learned through our lives, whether reading or living or whatever. That there's a lot of common sense that we just don't think about.
I want to circle back quickly to doing something that you might have an interest in.
Yeah.
I have two friends, Patricia Rocco and Jonathan Bosworth, and they both have their own side business that they do outside of their normal job. Patricia does a side business where she sells jewelry through Facebook and I think through other means. The name of it is Galaxy Bling. She started doing this initially by making like bead necklaces and stuff of that nature. And because of work, she didn't have a lot of time to keep doing that. But then when COVID hit, she's like,
suddenly everyone had a lot more time.
I have a lot more time to do stuff. And instead of doing the beads exclusively, she's like, let me reach out and find a company that makes jewelry that I find attractive, that I find interesting. And she's been able to turn that into something that does very well for her. Now, Jonathan, he is an artist, and he's somebody that I've known for a long time. Maybe about 2 years ago, he had come back into town, he reached out, and I had always encouraged his artistry because I always thought he drew very well. He had mentioned that, he'd been still working on art, but haphazardly, kind of, sort of on the whatever, and he decided on his own, not because of whatever I said, on his own decided, I really should do something with this. And so he created a side business called Lazy Day Tea. They have an Instagram, and we'll try to link it in the story and also have a little quick picture of it as well. And he basically sells stickers of images and cartoon characters and whatnot that he's drawn. Now, he does some other things as well, and they're trying to expand and get more creative. But it's a side thing for him, and they enjoy it, him and his fiance. And so they've been able to find a way to find something that they both enjoy, and they do as a side thing, and it's not life-consuming. And so I feel and these two people are good examples of somebody being able to create this side business and find balance. And so that it is bringing an income, but it's not all time consuming. And now I can't do these things anymore. I don't have time for you anymore because I have to focus on my side hustle.
Honestly, part of it for me might just be like a generally obsessive personality that I'm just going to, if I get that thing, I'm going to keep going on that thing until I get maybe a couple of weeks in, and then I'm going to be like, I'm good. It ran its course.
Yeah, motivation it's a big factor, right? We talked about if the expectation is when you start doing something that it's going to blow up immediately, whatever it is, and it doesn't happen, motivation's out the window. So what takes over at that point in time, if you have it? Discipline, right? It's the discipline to continue to do the thing even after the motivation has been dissipated.
When the emotion has passed.
And that's a hard thing. So this is why we say, it's like, make sure that when you're thinking, or if you're even thinking about it, that you're being a little bit mindful about the thing that you want to do. If it's the thing that you said, someone's trying to get you to become a salesperson, they're trying to get you to go online and do some application thing or document filling or something like that, and that's just not something that jives with you, don't do it, because you're going to get discouraged almost immediately.
If you're doing it with a specific purpose in mind to earn a certain amount of money for a specific purpose. So if you can say, you know what, I'm going to go deliver pizzas nights because I want to make some extra income, but I only want to do this until Christmas so that I can buy these presents that I want to get for whoever.
Yeah.
That's a very specific purpose. It's a finite time period. It's limited in its scope and scale. You know that even if it becomes all consuming for a month or two, that's okay because it's just a month or two.
And you put time and expectations on that. And so you know, like, okay, once I hit this goal, once I hit this measure, I'm good. I don't necessarily have to keep churning this out, doing it over and over again.
While we're talking about secondary income streams or side hustles or however you want to say it, one important thing to remember is if you don't have a budget right now to help your financial stability, having a side hustle to get extra money isn't any guarantee that it's not just going to go out the window the same as your regular income.
Right.
So get a budget.
Yeah.
Figure out how to control your flow of money. Then getting that side hustle might be enough to give you that extra thing to maybe pay off debt, or maybe you've really been eyeballing a 3D printer or whatever. You can save up for the thing that you want, the Xbox, whatever it is.
Yeah. And so like we've talked about before when we talked about setting goals, sit down, figure out what your income is and what your outgoing cash flow is. Is there things that you can cut back on? Maybe there is. Maybe there's a lot of things that you're spending money on that you don't need to. And then you come to find out, I don't really necessarily need to have a side hustle or a side business or passive income, because if I cut all these things out.
Maybe my side hustle is learning how to budget.
Now, I don't know why I have a hard time remembering this guy's name, and I always draw a blank every time I go think of him. He's a money guru.
Is it Dave Ramsey?
Dave Ramsey.
So Dave Ramsey, for those who are unfamiliar, I highly recommend the principles in general. He talks about being debt free and getting your money to work for you, and that's that kind of thing. And he's got a program called Financial Peace University that's all about learning some basic principles of money management so that you can figure out how to budget, how to dig out of debt, which many of us are in. It's like, I think, a 10-week course where you can go through and he'll teach a bunch of principles. He's also got a radio show. He's also got a book called Total Money Makeover, which is kind of goes over those same principles from that program. It's super useful. I've used it myself. Still working on some things, but that's life. I think it all comes down to learning to manage the money that you have coming in before pushing to bring in more.
Right, because I think that's the really, truly valid way to do things. Because there's no sense in pushing yourself to the limit or beyond if you don't need to, right? That might mean sacrifice. That might mean that you're not paying for things that you don't absolutely need to have. But if it puts yourself in a state of mind and a state of well-being, that you're not feeling frantic, that I got to find a way to be able to pay for these things.
If your goal is save up for this thing, then doing the side hustle, you have a motivation. You have a motivating factor going into it that you can say, this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
That it's not just about, I have this hobby, culture is telling me I have to monetize it.
Having a side business or a side hustle or passive income can be a very good thing, But there are also situations where it can become overwhelming or time consuming and put you in a situation you don't necessarily need to be in. But if you can find a way to make something that you enjoy and you can fit it within your current lifestyle, and make sure that you're not pushing other things off to the side, especially your own well-being, that you should be able to pursue it and hopefully be successful at it. But manage your expectations and know it may not happen overnight.
Get to know yourself. You know what you can handle better than anyone else, us or anyone else in the culture, or that one friend who really, really, really wants to be wheeling and dealing all the time.
And if finances are really the motivator for it, maybe sit down, read Dave Ramsey's book, listen to him, find out if there's a way that you can afford the things that you need to have in your life without necessarily stressing out and worrying about how I'm going to afford to pay for me just to exist.
So thanks for joining us on WizNugs. We hope you see you again next time.
Thanks for joining us today on WizNugs. If you liked what you heard, spread the word. For more information, head over to mywiznugs.com.